Video, we are going to talk about writing for the web, both as far as the content that you write and include, as well as writing for search engine optimization. Both of these are going to be key to the success of any website. So some tips to get started before we begin writing, and I'm going to keep interspersing a website that I have looked up, and we're going to take a look at that as an example, interspersed with some of this information so that you kind of get both sides of things. So to begin with, we have tips to get started. First one, write original content. This means you have to write it. You can reference and use other sources, but really think about what is differentiating what you have to offer on your website compared to others who are similar in their offerings, their services, whatever it may be, and write according to that to highlight those differences, because you really want the user to see why should they be at your site? Why should they follow the instructions you have or purchase the item you're selling or whatever the case may be? Related to that, be sure you focus on your users. Users on average will give a website about 10 to 12 seconds tops when they are doing searching. They will go to the search engine, they'll go to your site, they'll do a quick scan. If it doesn't seem to address their needs, they're gone. So we need to focus on our users so that we can keep them on our sites. So what we need to do is figure out what is it that our users want to know. Again, going back to the first point, what differentiates us and why do they want to come to our site and use our information or buy our product or our service or follow up or contact or whatever it is that you want them to do. But what is it that they want from their perspective? In relation to that, then think about some keywords that they might use when they're trying to find your site, because then this will guide you both for the search engine optimization piece as well as writing to their needs in vocabulary that they are using. Also try to keep one page and one topic. So you should only be addressing one topic per page. This isn't always the case, and sometimes this is kind of hard to do. And so you kind of need to use your judgment here. But keeping it to one topic aids in our search engine optimization and caters to what that user is looking for when your page comes up in the search engine results. And the last two are very related to each other. They are page structure and site structure. Page structure. So this is the first one that we're going to go out to this website and take a look and see what this means. So we're going to want to make any of the content that we're writing chunked up into pieces so that it is quickly scannable. Remember, you have 10 to 12 seconds at most. Once you've captured their attention and they're actually going to read your content, you still don't want it to be these big long blocks of text because you're going to very easily lose their attention. So we need to make use of headings to break up our content, bullet points because they are quickly scannable, keep our paragraphs short. So for any of you who have taken any sort of journalism type communications classes where you keep those paragraphs short, it's easy to move, keep those topics trim, and then the use of images and videos, and in both cases try to use captions that describe what those are, because people now when they visit your site can jump from headings to the bullet points through these quick short paragraphs and into the images and the captions, and they'll get an idea of what the content of your page is about. Let's go take a look at an example. Okay, I decided to do camping for beginners. Seems it's spring, we're thinking about camping. Thought that might be a good place to start. What I just did is I typed in my search term of camping for beginners. I clicked on the first non-ad, and fortunately in this case it happens to be the very top one. There are some sponsored ads here on the right hand side. I clicked on this one, that's what I have open in this tab, and let's look at the site structure for some of those elements that I was talking about. So the first one, of course, we have a big heading at the top and it says a beginner's guide to essential camping gear. Okay, so this is camping gear, but I said camping for beginners. So we've got camping and beginners. We're off to a good start because this title is telling me, in essence, what it's going to be about. As you can see as I scroll through this, this page is quite long. So we are scrolling through, but we have some things that break up our way. Here's our second heading. We have the basics, essential camping and hiking equipment, followed by an image. Then we have some bullet points. Now, granted, I'm not so keen because these bullet points have really big paragraphs, but what they have done is it's a bullet point. So if I were quickly scanning this, I could go, oh, okay, tents, tarps, poles, tie downs. Let's scroll. Okay, sleeping bags, backpacks, headlamps. So I could easily still scroll this, even though there are some fairly big blocks of text. We get down here, we have another headline, everything you'll need to cook outdoors, followed by an image, and so on. The one thing that I don't really agree with on this particular site is its paragraphs are quite long. They really should be more along the lines of this cups, bowls, and utensils length. Keep them at about that length, because once you get into some of these that we saw up here, like this one, hiking boots or shoes, that's really long. There should be some ways that this author could have broken that down so that I could have scanned it even easier. So let's just keep scrolling. So we've got this, and then we have, oh, there's a really nice list of bullet points, and these also links, so that makes it even nicer. So they're contextual links. These are all different checklists, so they're going to guide me. Remember, I'm the beginning camper. So this is all the way through. It's got everything else. So it's got, let's go back. We have headings, bullet points. The paragraphs aren't super short, but we do have images. All of this helps us break up this content, and so that it is a fairly quick scannable site. Now the other part is our site structure. Now our site structure is really talking about folder names and page names, and in both cases we want them to be in plain English for a couple of reasons. One, it's easier for us, the user, to understand what the page is about, and second of all, it helps with search engine optimization. So let's go take a look at this particular article that I found. So in this case, we have, it's on the Lifehacker site. So lifehacker.com, there is no folder here, but look at the title of this particular article, A Beginner's Guide to Essential Camping Gear. Well, that happens to be the actual name of the article, but that's also the name of the file that this is contained within. So that keeps it really easy for me to know I'm in a good place and that it's good for search engines as well. That's a little bit about our site structure. So if this were in a folder, it would be nice to see if it were in maybe like outdoor activities, and then in another folder called camping, and then give us our file name. So those are some of those key pieces when it comes to our site structure and our page structure. So now let's take a look at a few more things. Some people say that you should write for improving your search engine optimization or your SEO. But if you've watched the brief Google video that I had before this, you'll see that writing for your user actually improves your SEO. What I'm saying is we need to target the user and the SEO will come along. So one of the first things that you need to do before you even start writing is start thinking about the keywords that you want to use or that your users might find relevant and important to the topic that they just searched. So in our case, in our site that we've been looking at, camping and beginners are kind of the two big things. Those were the words that I typed in. Then what you do is go and incorporate those keywords throughout your text in meaningful ways. We have to be very careful that it's meaningful, because there was a phenomena in the late 1990s to in the early 2000s that was referred to as keyword stuffing. And keyword stuffing was basically, it was just a list of keywords over and over and over again. Sometimes they were put into some mode of apparent context. But what it was trying to do is get better search engine results, higher search engine results, because it's using these keywords over and over again. The problem is the content here isn't very valuable. It doesn't really mean a lot. And it's frustrating to the user, and therefore there's a lot of what is referred to as a bounce rate, meaning people would go into the site and they leave right away, and they might actually miss out on some good content on some other sites that might be further down in the search engines. So what happened then after that, once the search engines such as Google got wise to this, is if they find something that they would consider an example of keyword stuffing, where you're trying to spoof the system, it actually gives you a lower ranking in their algorithm. So we try to avoid this. So this visual here is an example of keyword stuffing. We sell custom cigar humidors. Our custom cigar humidors are handmade. If you're thinking of buying a custom cigar humidor, please contact our custom cigar humidor specialists at custom.cigar.humidor@example.com. Yeah, there's a lot of keywords in there, but it doesn't really tell us a whole lot, and it's just really to get it within the context over and over again. So we want to avoid that. So that's what I say when we want to incorporate our keywords throughout text in meaningful ways. Another thing is to proofread your content. And while I have no actual proof of this, partially because Google does not release its algorithms and it changes them frequently, but there has been some speculation that search engines will scan for things like incorrect spellings, and if they find too many of them on a given page, that will actually reduce your rankings within a search engine result. So we want to actually make sure that we proofread our content, not just because it improves our user's experience, because remember, this is oftentimes a user's first impression of your site, therefore your product, your service, whatever it is you're promoting, and you want it to look polished and professional. And if it's filled with all kinds of spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, punctuation, capitalization, those kinds of things, that really deters potential visitors because it looks sloppy and it doesn't look professional. Apparently, the search engines think so too, and therefore they can lower those rankings. And so it's even more important to make sure that you've gone in and proofread the content that's on your page. So let's go back and let's take a look at our site and think about those keywords and how it's incorporated those within the context of the content of the site. So here we are again at the Beginner's Guide to Essential Camping. We've already talked about, it says so right here in the title, and let's just kind of keep looking. Whether you're a complete beginner or a vet looking to cover your bases, we've got you covered. Okay, so there it's talking about the beginner again. On your camping trip, and then it talks about some different types. Then it's got the word camp. Well, it's not camping, so it's good. Talking about hiking, something portable. Talks about campers and where your camp location is. They have distinction. Okay, so there's a lot of camp and camping in here. So that's a good thing, but it all seems to be within context here so far. Essential camping and hiking equipment. So, I mean, these are related terms, so this is good. And that's in a heading. Let's start with the most obvious, camping specific equipment. So if we're to continue scanning, we're going to start seeing the word camping over and over again. In fact, what I'm going to do is a quick Command F on a Mac and just do a search here for camping. And it comes up 32 times on this page. And so if I scan down, you can see the first couple, and there it is. But look, it's not like that example that I shared where it is over and over again. In fact, see, some of these paragraphs don't even have the word camping. They might have camp or backpacking or hiking in them, but we're going to keep scrolling. So if I were to go through this, I'd find some of this pretty darn quick and be able to realize that, okay, this might be a good thing, especially because it's got that list. There is our content, and off the top, I didn't see any particular issues with spelling or grammar issues or anything like that. So let's go back. All right, so you've written your content and you've got it catered towards your users. Well, there are a few more things that we can do to help improve our SEO. The first of which is to use heading 1s on each page. Heading 1s indicate to search engines that this information is really important. important. And then it also means make sure that those heading 1s contain the keywords or word that we think is really important. So let's go back to our site. A beginner's guide to essential camping. If you remember right, my search term was camping for beginners. So we have beginners and camping both as keywords right in the H1 at the top of this page. So that's good. Directory and file names should be in plain English and relevant. Well, we looked at that earlier, and the file name in this case was exactly the same as the H1. And that's really good because, again, it's incorporating those keywords in there. It's making it easy for both me, the reader, but also search engines to look at the context. The other is to use hyphens versus underscores when you're splitting up the names within your folders or your file names. The reason being, hyphens actually allow search engines to see each of the words as separate words. Let's go look at our site. So where it says A Beginner's Guide to Essential Camping Gear, a search engine would actually see each of these as separate words. And while underscores are completely acceptable for naming our files, if we had an underscore between each of these instead of a hyphen, then our search engine wouldn't be able to differentiate where one word starts and another ends. We as humans can still see it. There's something in the coding that says, hey, it's got this underscore, so we're going to see this all as one big long word. And so that'll actually reduce your rankings within the search engine. So hyphens are better. Now let's go take a look. Okay, use unique title tags on each page. Let's go look. Yep. This one's got a beginner's guide to essential camping gear. You can see that when I've moused over it. I can see the rest of it. That is the title for that page. So now we're seeing that the title, the H1, and in this case, the name of the file all share the same name. So this is good. It's keeping it all very, very contextual, and it contains the keywords that we need. Use meta tags, particularly meta description and meta keywords. And you're like, well, what is this meta? Well, meta, if you recall, is data about data. We talked about this really early in the semester when we talked about the head section of our website. Within the head of our website is where we can put information about our site. So it's the metadata. Let's go take a look at our site. Okay, here we are back at our site. Let's go take a look at the source code so we can see where that metadata is going to be at. So let's go view page source. ACK. Okay, this is a lot of code to dig through and is going to be pretty difficult. So what I'm actually going to do, yeah, look at this. It just kind of keeps going. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop over to Firefox, where I have already pulled up the site and I am using Firebug so that I can better look through the code. And so what I've found, and it's down here, it is here, is we have the meta keywords and descriptions. So right here in this line, there are the meta keywords. So we have camping, shopping, travel, camp gear, editor's picks, feature, outdoor, shopping guide, buying guide, and life hacker. So these are some of the things that they are saying they want to come up on for this particular article when people search for it. And if we scroll down a bit, okay, a little bit here, we come across the meta property description. And it looks like they have a few different descriptions and they're probably catering to different search engines. And in like this case, it says Twitter description. So it'd probably be what comes up in Twitter. But it says spring is in full swing, which means that camping trips you've been itching for, etc., etc. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but there is the description. And you're like, well, so what? Well, first of all, it includes some of our keywords. But the more important thing that the meta description does, and let's just go back. Just remember this. Spring is in full swing, which means that camping trip you've been waiting or you've been itching to take is just around the corner. Just remember that little bit. I'm going to pop back to Chrome and go back to where I originally searched it. Notice this text. Spring is in full swing, which means that camping trip you've been itching to take is just around the corner. This is coming from the meta description. Anytime that you are seeing these brief little descriptions, if they seem to be nice and compact little descriptions, they were probably part of the meta description. Sometimes when websites don't include meta descriptions, it just pulls an abbreviated version of the first text that appears on the page. So sometimes it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This is why we use it, because you can see in Google, it's highlighted the word camping in bold letters for us. So it's showing us right in that description that it's meeting our criteria, and this is all coming from our website in combination of the meta keywords that they used and the meta description that they used. So let's go back to our PowerPoint and then incorporate alt tags on all of your images. So let's go see if they did that. And remember what I said about alt tags is that they actually are dual purpose. One is they are requirements for the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, for people with visual disabilities, visual impairment of some sort, that they have readers that will then allow them to it'll read the content and it'll say that it's an image and it will describe the image. So that's the first part. The second part is because it does play in our search engine optimization. And for this, I'm actually going to go back to Firefox because, again, it's easier to pick out the images that I want. So I'm just going to scroll down. So we'll even look at their first image here and see what comes up. And that doesn't appear to part of a bigger piece, so it's a little hard to tell, but it doesn't look like there is an alt tag on that. I do know they have some other images, so we'll go and click on those. And they don't have an alt tag for this. This is actually a very bad thing. They really should have alt tags for each of these images that would describe what this is, like a night camping scene or something along those lines, that would allow, or for visually impaired people to see it, as well as the search engines to help pick that up to help support their search engine optimization. So these are some of the keys when it comes to writing. So remember the importance in our tips to get started. Write your original content. Be sure to focus on your users first and then think about the keywords that they might use. Think about doing one page, one topic. Think about your page structure, what kind of headings you're using, bullet points, keeping short paragraphs, all of these things to help keep your page scannable and easy to read. Be sure that folder names and page names are all in plain English. This does not include your home page. That is still index, but everything else. Your writing for your users improves your SEO, but you need to include those keywords in meaningful ways or it will downplay or reduce your rankings in the search engine. And of course, incorporate your keywords in things like H1s in the names of your files. Use hyphens instead of underscores. Create unique titles for your pages. Use meta tags, especially description and keywords. And incorporate alt tags in all of your images and avoid keyword stuffing. We don't want to see an overuse of keywords. So that is my brief bit on writing for the web. I hope this helps when it comes to writing the content for your site. Thank you.